All right, very good morning, everyone. Thank you for coming down this morning for this session and waking up bright and early on a Sunday morning. It's my pleasure and honor to be here this morning. And I would like to also congratulate the finalists, the nominees of the Malaysia Teacher Prize 2025. All right, so could we just join me and give them a big round of applause? I am eagerly awaiting the prize giving later to see, who emerges the winner. Let me share a bit more about me in a while. But before that, let me just get your attention to this image over here. We're all into AI these days, right? So I went into that. So I went to AI and I said, generate me an image with all the parameters that I set. So I set these parameters for myself. I said, generate me an image of an educator who is tall, dark, and handsome. And this came out. And I looked at it and went, this has an uncanny resemblance to Samuel. Don't you all agree? This guy looks a lot like Samuel, don't you think? Where's Samuel in the house? I was like, okay, never mind. He's the tall, dark, handsome educator of Malaysia. I'll take the Singapore. All right? Now, so today what I'm going to talk about is teaching with hope. HOPE being an acronym, and talking about teaching as a craft beyond curriculum and pedagogy. So indulge me for a while here. Let me see if the clicker works. Click. It worked earlier. Okay, in the meantime, thank you. So may I just invite you to whip out your phones. Everyone, I know all of you have a mobile phone today, and I know all of you have data plans because it's impossible to survive in today's world without it. So whip out your phones, please. All right, once you have your phones, I need you to now go into a search engine called Google. If you don't know this search engine, we will have another lesson later. All right, and the most important part of today, I would like you to search in Google for this person. Are you ready? All of you in Google? Can you search for Kevin Joseph Francis from Singapore, and then you put search. Okay, great. Looks like most of you are there. Most of you are doing it. Excellent. And at this juncture, I need to thank you for you have just helped me on my quest to become the most Googled person in Singapore. Thank you very much. Now, if you had Googled, all right, so here's a more serious reason why, all right? So if you have Googled me, some of these articles would have come up about me. A lot of what I'm sharing this morning has to do with two things. One, research. Right? So a lot of what all these you're going to see on screen is research-based. And the second part of what I'll be sharing is about me. It's about my story, my experience. So this is very important because I'm not here. I don't want you to leave thinking that this is how the Ministry of Education in Singapore is. This is how the education system in Singapore is. No, right? Today's sharing is research and my experience. Not research on my experience, all right? It's research and my experience. And I will go on more and more. But before that, I need to understand my audience first, all right? How many of you here love research and facts and information? Raise your hand, please. Oh, I love it. I love it. Put your hands down. How many of you here love stories? You love to go for a sharing where people just share more and more stories. Okay, good. I've got a mix. Excellent. So I will have a mix of both. I will be able to cater to both my audience types, all right? One that wants to listen to the research and one that wants to hear the stories that I have to share. Allow me to first share why I chose this topic, all right? So in today's context, in today's world, I think we are in pursuit of academic excellence. We are in pursuit of being the best. We are in pursuit of results. Classroom performance. And there's a lot of performance tasks, a lot of assessments. And one of those things that we may lose sight of is the joy of learning. And today, I hope that from this session, I can share just some insights on how I do this in classrooms, in departments, in schools that I've been at, and how I try to bring that forward. And so let me start with a story. In 2015, I had the privilege of being in a startup school. Now, this startup school in 2015 was an initiative in Singapore to help a certain profile of students. Now, when I say that Singapore has different profile of students, people look at me, hey, but you're PISA #1 in the world. You're the best PISA scores in the world. How come you all have different profile of students one? We are just another country, people, and we have different people of different demographics, right? We are not all the same. And so, Singapore set out to set up a specialized school, and I was very privileged and honored to be part of that team in 2015. Now, this school is set up for students who just completed their PSLE. Now, how many of you know what PSLE stands for? It is the worst 4-letter word in Singapore. All right? Most vulgar word, actually. Parents stress their kids out with these 4 alphabets. PSLE. It's called Primary School Leaving Examination. It is an examination that 12-year-olds take, to me, that decides the rest of their life at 12. And it's a very stressful period. So in 2015, the system was such that, the system has changed, by the way, but the system then was such that at 2015, whoever took their PSLE, you get into 3 streams of education. You go into the express stream. Wow, this one means you are, I know this word, pandai. All right, clever. You are express student. You're on the express train. In 4 years, you're going to take your O-levels. Or you go into the normal academic stream. This is exactly what it's called, by the way, normal academic stream. This means that you are pandai lah, but you need 5 years. All right? And then there's another stream called the normal technical stream. Now, in this stream, you are not able to even take the O-levels. You take the N-levels, and you take it at a much lower level. Yes, this was catered to help our students who are low progress learners. But imagine you studied in a classroom, and at the end of your education, you got this certificate that told you you're in normal tech. How do you feel? How would that child feel at that moment? This is how the kids who came to my school felt. So we set up a school that was entirely for normal technical students. That means I don't have express, I don't have any. Full school for normal technical students. And these students came from all over Singapore. So imagine when the registration day, I'm standing there, and I realized kids coming in. First and foremost, they know that they were in the bottom rung of the whole country. I just want you to put yourself in their shoes, right? They had a lot of self-doubt. Because you can imagine what the parents said to them when they got their result slips. They were questioning their own self-worth. And these were the kids we saw on the first, not even the first day of school, on the registration day. 200 kids walked in, looking this way, feeling this way. And so at that point in time, I got into the school as the head of the student development unit, right? And I sat the team down and I said, wow, this is a very sad sight. They're not even excited to come to school. This is like a school of rejects, you know? And that's how they felt on the first day. Because they were rejected from the express stream, from the normal academic stream. And so we sat down and we said, no, we can't do this. We need to bring this space up. We need to uplift them. We can't leave them where they are. So from the first day of school, from the onset, because this is a specialized school and I have a lot of free play, we suspended curriculum the first week. We said, no one's going to teach. All right, let's not teach them. And what we did was we said, let's have fun. The first week, let's hook them. Let's build their morale up. Let's build their self-confidence up. Let's make them motivated to come to school. So I came up with this program called Start It Right. Right? Start it right means the first week of school, we start it right. Teachers don't need to teach. Your only job is to spend your time with the kids. Have fun. I had a carnival in school. I booked out a cinema Brought the whole school to the cinema. Let's watch a movie together. I had a campfire, invited the family, made it seem as if these people were the top scorers of the country. But they were not, right? But the reality is what you perceive it to be. So we created a space that was welcoming, that was showering them with affirmations. And this started right. I didn't just stop on the first day of school. I did it after every term break. So every time the kids came back to school, we started it right again. And this was at the expense of curriculum. So how many of you are curriculum heads here? Like you are, department, running curriculum departments. I know you will come up in arms and say, you're taking away curriculum time. Yeah, I hear all the laughter already, yeah. Curriculum time is so important. How can you take it away to just have fun, right? But we just got to look at where our priorities lie, what's important at that moment. And because this was a startup school, it was a new initiative, and I was given free play, I was like, let's try. Let's see what happens. And I had a principal who was amazing, who supported me. And we went on. We did this. 4 years later, the first batch of students graduated. And this is what we saw in that 4 years of consistently changing the school environment to something that was happy, something that was optimistic, something that was passion-filled, where my teachers are enthusiastic. I saw kids walking around school so confident, so happy. I saw kids who didn't want to leave school. They wanted to stay in school until I had to tell them, go home lah. I know you love school, but we also need to go home, All right? They love school so much. I had students who were so happy and they were performing well. Students who had never passed maths. I don't know how it is here for mathematics, but over there, mathematics is another taboo word we don't say. All right? Kids are not doing well. And when the first time they pass math, you should see the joy in their face. Not because, I'll tell you, I'm a math teacher by training, right? English and math. I'll tell you what I did for them to taste their first success later. And let me share another story. Imagine these kids, right? I already told you where they came from. They came from the bottom rung of every school in the nation. Do you think they had a chance to be a leader in any of the schools they came from? Yeah, I see. Yeah, you know why? I don't know if you call them prefects here. I don't know if you call them student counselors here, student leaders here. Who do you normally choose? Your top students, your better students, the performing students, the ones who could come up there. So imagine I started a school, my first batch of students, 200 students. And as a school, I should have a student leadership body, right? How am I going to form that? So I did this. On the first year of school, I put up, because I was also heading the student leadership portion. So I said, I'm going to, in a morning assembly, I said, today, during recess, come and sign up to be a student leader. No one came. Then I went out to the form teachers. I said, teachers, nominate your students to be student leaders. Of course, my teachers all nominate. So I called them all up, in the morning assembly. I said, you have all been nominated. Chair for what? Do they call you all chair also here? No, cikgu maybe. Right? Over there they call us chair because they're too lazy to say teacher. Right? So, chair for what? Alright? And I said, because you're student leaders, so what does student leadership mean? I said, you have to lead the student. And then they go, where got time? Alright? And I said, no, cannot. So from there, I gave them a badge. Student leaders need to wear badge, right? So student leaders, I thought giving them a badge would empower them, make them happy. Within a week, I had half the badge on my table. You know why? You know why they didn't want to be student leaders? Because of the teachers. Because when teachers see you got badge, you get extra scolding. You student leader don't do homework. And they say, I'd rather not be student leader. Student leader don't do homework, get double scolding. Right? So you keep the badge. So 4 years, I'm telling you, 3 years, I worked with these kids tirelessly. Worked. And 3 years later, that badge, when I took it away, students cried. Because there was that much affiliation to that leadership position they held. And this was the first student council that I formed. Would you believe that these kids were normal technical kids who couldn't be leaders. Standing tall, standing proud. And this is why we do what we do. And this is exactly what I mean by hope. This is what we hold on to. That hope that every child can succeed. That hope that every child can lead. If only we taught them how to, we don't put a ceiling above their heads. So hope is something I'm talking about quite a bit, and this is the acronym that I would like to introduce today. Hope being happiness, optimism, passion, and enthusiasm. A lot of what I share today is based on the field of positive psychology. So here's another story. I'm a psychology major. I am not a teacher. Why do I say that? As I go on sharing, you'll understand, this guy never teaches. You know? So I studied psychology, I majored in psychology. And after I majored, I wanted to specialize in developmental psychology and positive psychology. Where else to run experiments for free than in schools? So I went to the National Institute of Education and said, sign me up, I want to be a teacher. Right? How many of you wanted to be a teacher since you were 15? Yesterday I think the panelist spoke, right? How many of you wanted to be a teacher since 15? Great. I never wanted to be a teacher all my life. Honestly, when I got the President's Award for Teachers, it was reported that the most number of teachers got heart attacks that day. And most of them were my teachers. I was not a good student, I think. You know? And I would never, I think in my wildest dreams, thought I'll be a teacher. But I went into teaching to understand the development of children. I went into teaching to understand developmental psychology. I went into teaching to practice positive psychology. So it was a total different reason why I went. And quite honestly, now when I look back at the 15 years I've spent in the ministry, I've not thought, I'm not a good teacher. You know? So what have I been doing? I question myself. And what is happiness? All right, so happiness can be defined as such. It is the frequent feeling of positive emotions and having an enduring sense of overall life satisfaction. It is being in a positive emotional state or a state of positive effect. And this is defined by research. So what can you do in school then? You know, to bring about happiness in your students. You could provide academic support. Yes. Why? Because I'm really struggling. You know, a lot of our students don't do homework not because they don't want to do homework, it's because they don't know how to do the homework. A lot of students are not paying attention in class, not because they choose to. Yes, some of them choose to. But most of them are not paying attention because they didn't get what was taught yesterday. There's so many gaps in their learning that they cannot form a complete picture. And the last one, and the next one is a school culture that supports self-esteem. How many of us with our language are building a child, and how many of us with our language are breaking the child? The language is the most important thing, right? What do we say to our kids when they perform poorly in an exam? What do we say to our kids who are constantly disturbing you in class? Are we really building self-esteem all the time? And lastly, the most powerful predictor of happiness is the quality of relationships with your students. And speaking of quality of relationships, just going to go back here very quickly. I think most of you are familiar with this. Your quality of relationships affect the quality of thinking. So, for example, if you are in a school where you have very good quality of relationships, your focus, it means you're from top down, it's all about relational leadership. Relationships in school, relationships between teachers and students, relationships between students and students, relationship between teachers and parents. You have all these factors factored in, the quality of thinking in your school will be of a different level. And because of that, the quality of actions that come out of your school, of your department, of your classroom, will also be of a different level. And what will these actions impact? The results. And if you are familiar, this is Daniel Kim's core theory of success. If we want to succeed, whether in your classroom, in your department, in your school, start with the quality of relationships, positive relationships. And that would result in success. And that's what success looks like. So let me tell you another story. Okay, this is the ones for the story lovers. All right. In 2018, let me see. Do I have it here? Yeah. In 2018, all right, my first cohort of students were going to sit for their national exams. So 2015, 16, 17, 18, all right? This was the first batch of students. I was very close to this batch. Basically, they are my first babies, right? They just came in, and I'm so responsible for them. And they were going to sit for their national exam. June holidays happened. And after June holidays, one student stopped coming to school. I tell you, when that one student stops coming to school, you want to leave the others to just go in search of this one. And I went in search of this one. Every single day, I drove out to his house. His mom was a single mom. She said, he's not in. He used to work at Pizza Hut. So I'll drive to Pizza Hut. I know he'll be in the kitchen, but he'll tell the staff to say that he's not there. I was in search of this boy. I haven't sighted him, but I'll text him. And he'll reply, Mr. Francis. They call me Mr. Francis. Mr. Francis, I'm fine. Stop looking for me. Mr. Francis, I'm fine. Stop looking for me. I was like, come back to school. Come back to school. No, never mind. I meet you outside. Let's have a drink. Let's talk. No. June passed. July passed. August came. And in August, unfortunately, I met in a traffic accident. I mean, it would be more dramatic if I said I met in an accident while looking for him, but it's not true. All right? I met in a traffic accident. I was warded in the hospital. If anybody wants to make a movie out of this, please just use the other narrative. All right? I met in a traffic accident and I was in the hospital. I was just lying there and I was still thinking about this boy. And my principal was there visiting me that evening. Yeah? And I heard a knock on the door. Lo and behold, he was standing at the door. He had found out from a friend that I met in an accident. And he found out where I was, which ward I was. Clearly, he was better than locating me than I was locating him. And he was there. We spoke at the ward that evening. He went back to school the next day and he graduated that day. That was Amiru. Now that's what relationships does. That's what brings your kids back to you. And if you ask me, Kevin, give me a bit of a model. How do I do this in school? What do I focus on? Let's go back to research. Let's go back to Seligman's PERMA. Let's focus on positive emotions, building that. Making sure your kids experience joy, gratitude, and just be positive in school. Engage them. It is not about them doing just what you want them to do, but have we ever asked what is it that they want to do? I always tell my teachers, when in doubt, if you're teaching well, ask your students. And if they really care about you, they'll tell you the truth. If they all say yes, that means you're not teaching well. Positive relationships, I cannot stress this enough. This is what I do everything based on. Meaning, give me a reason why. I got another story. Can I tell another story? Sorry. Yeah, Ken? So, one of the things that I was grappling with in this school was late coming. How many of you have late coming as an issue in your school? Thank you, because cannot be only, and some of my country is so small, still got late coming. All right? Now, late coming. And quite honestly, it's a big issue because the kids will come late. And then my principal came to me and said, Kevin, we need to sort out late coming. I was like, why are they coming late? I said, let me ask them lah. I cannot predict. So then they tell me, one student hit it hit the nail in the coffin. He said, Mr. Francis, come early for what? I said, hey, you're right. Come early for what? To sit down there and read book. Nobody wants to do that. Then that book is read for 4 years. For those of you who know what I'm talking about, it's read upside down, every direction also the book has been read, that one book. All right? So I said, you're right. Let me give you a reason to come to school early. So I started this pre-assembly program. Every morning, I either take song dedications or I'll be there at 7 a.m. I'll be playing music. I'll be playing games. My school is a carnival at 7 a.m. All right? And why do I do this? And I even have this point system where if the whole class is there at 7 a.m., you all get points. So it's no longer up to me, Now when one student come late, the classmates call him, hey, see you come late, then the class never get the point. It's no longer, the responsibility is not mine. I've shifted it to them. Because I've given them the meaning. It is beyond you. You are doing this to serve not just yourself, but a community, your classmates, your classroom, your school. Right? Give them that meaning. And lastly, accomplishment. So I'll share some pictures, again, about some of the things we do. All right? So when I say build relationships, every activity that I ask my students to do, I will do with them. For example, I love internationalization programs, so I bring my students overseas quite a bit. So I brought them to Vietnam. Another story, by the way. I hope you don't mind. Right? I brought them to Vietnam. And then in Vietnam, right, there was this, what's that? Fishing. What fishing is that? Anyone who's been to Vietnam where you've... Catfish. Not catfishing, huh? But it is catfishing. All right? So we had to walk into this muddy pool, all right, and put our hands into that mud and wiggle our fingers, and the catfish will come and, because they have no teeth or what, and then you grab it. That's how they catch catfish. Some of you are nodding your head. I really don't know how you know that, right? You're catfishing quite a bit, aren't you? All right? Now, and so all my students looked at me and went, Mr. Francis, you go first. I was like, alamak, me. So girly, to put your hand inside there and get a fish to come and bite you. And then I'm like, guys, I'm a modern guy. I don't do all these things. But because I had to role model, right? How do I expect my kids to do something that I won't do? Right? So I did lah. I went there, wiggled my fingers, fish beat, carried the fish up, act brave. All right? And then told them, okay, now your turn. All right? And got out of there. Another thing about meaning is, when I joined my next school, which is the school that I was currently in very recently, we had to re-envision the school values. And so my principal looked at me and said, Kevin, we need to teach the values, the new values to the kids. And I went, okay, I could stand up here every morning and talk about respect, responsibility, integrity, like we do in schools, right? Or I could think about how do I get them to talk about it. So that's what got me thinking about creating this value, or the first values-based card game in Singapore, and I think in the region, all right? And this is very interesting. That's me, by the way. That's not my doppelganger, and that's not a younger me. I had a challenge thrown to me by a student, all right, who said, Mr. Francis, do you really know what we go through? It's like, do I really know what you go through? Let me find out. So for 1 week, I dressed up as a student. I suspended all my timetable. I didn't teach. And I became a student for a week. I could qualify, by the way. All right? I joined them. And I'm telling you, do you know how tiring it is to be a student or not? We teachers teach, after that we walk out and we go into our staff room. Do you know they sit down there, the next teacher comes in. After a while, I saw, alamak, and give up already. It is so tiring. And I learned something. Do you know I did a mistake that I used to scold my students for? Do you know what I did? I'm sure you all scold your students for this, right? I was sitting down in the classroom, right? And every time someone walks past the window, I will look. All the laughing one, all guilty. And then you know what? As a teacher, I used to tell my student, look, eyes here. I'm teaching. Why are you looking outside for? See, all the laughing ones guilty. But guys, friends, it is not by choice that I look there. It is really a natural instinct for me to look when someone is walking. And we've been scolding our kids not knowing that because we never sat in their shoes. And here's another thing that I discovered. So my handphone was in my pocket. Okay? So halfway through lesson, my handphone vibrated. What do you think I'll do? Teacher, may I go to the toilet, please? So I went to the toilet because I'm a teacher, right? right? But I still need to follow the protocol. So I went to the toilet, want to check my phone lah. Whoa, in the toilet, 5 other students checking their phones. And I said, oh, this is what's happening. But I would not have known if I wasn't a student. And I realized that it is not their fault that they wanted to check, but it's the curiosity because your phone vibrated in your pocket. So then I came out with a rule that don't put phones in your pocket, leave it in your bag, turn it off in the morning. Then there's no distraction, right? There's no vibration for me to be distracted because then my mind is just consumed on what is that text. Who called me? Who texted me? So when we understand where the kids are coming from, we'll be able to serve them much better. And this is the accomplishment part, right? Or this is a claw machine. So again, here's what I did. So I extended the catch game to a catch claw machine, literally catch the values. So when kids exhibit the school values, they get a token, then they can go to the claw machine. The great thing about claw machine is I can rig it so they never get a prize. All right, and they keep trying. And looks like I'm the guy trying all the time. And look at this. Now, this is actually an award for kids who have otherwise never received a certificate. So in my previous school, I started this thing called Student of the Month, Values Champion. Find reasons to celebrate them. So when they came to take the certificate, right, it's like, whatever, I'm too cool for this. But do you know when I went for home visits, their certificates are planted on the wall because they are so proud of it, because they have never received another certificate before, because they were the bottom rung of all their classes and schools. So reward or celebrate every small success you can of your students. You know, it will pay off. These emotional bank accounts you create with every child is so important. Let me just move forward. So in conclusion, right, with happiness, this is what research has said. Happiness is positively correlated with academic achievement. Just remember that. When your students are happy, they will do well. Don't worry. Happiness is positively associated with intrinsic motivation. You don't need to dangle no carrots anymore. Because they are happy, they will learn. I always tell this, and I believe this. Students don't like the subject. They like the teacher teaching the subject. And you are that teacher. And whether a student loves or hates maths, it's all in that learning experience of mathematics in the classroom. And we have the power to create that. And lastly, the culture that we create and build in our classrooms, in our schools, and the relationships with their peers and their teachers determine or is a predictor of happiness. So as schools, as institutions, we cannot see academic excellence and happiness as competing priorities. And we need to start recognizing the link. I, for one, believe that when you pursue happiness, excellence follows. Let me move on to the next part of hope, which is O, optimism. And in this case, very specifically, academic optimism. Now, academic optimism can be understood as these 3 areas, right? Collective teacher efficacy, trust in students and parents, and lastly, your academic emphasis. All these 3 domains are correlated. Let's start with collective teacher efficacy. This is a teacher's belief in your own abilities or efficacy. It is your belief in your students and your belief in the processes in your school, in your organization. So my question to you is, it all starts with belief. So do you believe? Do you believe in your own abilities firstly as educators? Do you believe that your students are there because they want to learn? And do you believe your school is there to support you and to support your students' success? So let me start with the teacher's belief part. So your belief, or our belief, all right, as educators, or our belief about others, about our students, about our colleagues. I know we teach in schools with all kinds of colleagues. Colleagues who we can relate with, and colleagues who we go, how come this one's still teaching? We do have. I have been in such spaces before, right? But our beliefs shape and influence our actions towards others. So when we believe positively about someone, you naturally tend to exhibit positive actions towards someone. When you believe that this student, we always have this with some students in our classroom. This one pandai, this one very good. This guy can get away with anything. This one never do homework today. It's okay, this one good student. Whereas on the other hand, you have a student who never does homework suddenly, finally do homework. Right? Because our belief influence the actions. And our actions influence that person's belief about themselves. So that student that you continually praised is continually going to feel good. That student you've continuously put down is continuously going to feel very small and get smaller and smaller in your classroom. And that will cause that student's actions towards us. So when you see that student who never do homework for you, we need to go back and reflect, where did that start? How come this student, I have this problem with my school. My teachers always come to me and say, Kevin, how come a whole class do homework for you? How come my subject, they don't do homework? So it's not an individual problem anymore. It's not that the student cannot do homework. Students choose who they do their work for. Just like us, right? We also choose who we work for, right? If you have a good boss, you work harder. Right? It's the same thing. This is called the Pygmalion effect, which is also known as the self-fulfilling prophecy. So this is something that we all need to be very cognizant of. It all starts with our beliefs. Do you believe? And that starts a whole chain reaction. So let's start with the belief that every child can succeed. Every colleague wants to teach. Every school is a good school. And that's MOE's tagline, by the way. All right? And the next part I'm going to talk about is collective teacher efficacy is the belief that the faculty as a whole can organize and execute actions required. Now, I move schools every 4 or 5 years. I move from a mainstream secondary to a specialized secondary and then to a primary. I move to different organizations. And as I move, I make sure of one thing. Nothing that I do is Kevin dependent. I must be able to take myself out of any system and the system must still go on. How many of the things we do in school are person dependent? That means if you remove this person, this project dies a natural death. That's a very dangerous space to be in. Why? Because there are so many good initiatives that are tagged to you. Then when you leave, what happens? And then you also feel very stressed, because you end up doing all the work. Because this is not an organization as a whole, but an organization with a whole. And this is who you are. Most of you in this room, this is who you are. You are just trying to keep this organization afloat, trying to get my students through, trying my best day and night. And I'm sure you're all in this room. I'm sure they are having a good Sunday morning brunch right now. Let them do the work. Hey, friends, this is not a problem that lies within borders. It's a problem beyond borders. It's an organizational problem. As long as it's an organization, you will have different personalities. So how do we work as a whole, not as an organization or a school, but a whole? And that takes conscious effort. That takes conversations, difficult ones, but it's ones you need to have with your department, with your school, if you're an administrator, to make sure that if I step out, where does this school go? As a principal of this school, if I'm not here, can this school still achieve what it's achieving? Or is the school only moving because of me? Right, so these are questions we want to ask ourselves. Next up is trust in parents and students. Now, this is really that willingness to be vulnerable. Can I share another story? Yeah, sure. This is for the story lovers, right? I came to a primary school in the last 5 years, right? And I think this is how many primary school teachers here? I salute you. It's the hardest to teach primary school. I'm not kidding you, right? No, the students are one. They're so adorable. Right? They're always running to me. I feel like a celebrity when I enter the school. Right? Oh, Mr. Francis. Like, yeah. High five to everybody. All right. But you know what I really don't look forward to? Or I look forward to, but my teachers don't look forward to? The parents. For some reason, parents of primary school students, a different level. They are so invested in the kids that I wonder what happened when they go secondary school. Why you no longer got the same investment? ROI take a day. All right. So invested. The helicoptering is to a different level. To a point that my teachers are so scared. They'll come to Kevin, parent calling. Answer lah. You know? So let me share a story. There was this very angry parent that came to school because son got injured in the classroom because of some scuffle that happened. So parent came to the general office, barged in, not kick the door or anything, just barged in, demanding to see, and my form teachers were there. So I have this trick, right? I always send the form teachers first. First line of defense. You go first. We let them vent. You all take, never mind. Okay, performance bonus, I take care of you all. All right? You all take. Then I'll send my assistant go in. You go in. Because they still got residual effect. You also go and ambil. You know? And then I come in as the hero to sweep the day. Hi, ma'am, what happened? Come, let's talk. All went ready, right? Very good. But this parent was different. So this case was very different because parent was so angry. And I entered the room, and the parent looked at me and said, "What are you doing here?" I said, "I work here." "Huh? I thought you're security guard." Let me tell you why the parent thought I was a security guard. Right? Because I'm at the gate, my school gate, at 6:30 a.m. every morning, welcoming the first kid that walks in. And that is my point of contact with every parent that drops off their child. And I talk to all of them as if I'm the security guard. I've never introduced myself. I just go, "Hey, good morning, how are you today? What's happening today? What's after this? Have a nice breakfast." Then I'll high-five the kids. They'll go in, and I do that from 6:30 to 7:30 every single morning, right? And the parents really thought I was a security guard. I was the friendliest security guard, right? And so when I told the parents, "Sorry, I'm not the security guard. I'm so-and-so." "Oh, yeah, you are here, no problem. I'm not worried." He just left. He had so much confidence and trust that I will take care of the child because he saw me every morning at the gate making sure the child is well. I never thought that would be something that I would expect as a return. But these little things that we do has such a residual effect. Never did I think that, that parent will be the one who will be so happy to see me. All right? And that confidence and trust that they have. Friends, we are in the business of taking care of the most precious in their life, their children. Of course, the expectations are going to be high. Right? We cannot expect any less. And I respect them for that. So let's build positive relationship. Let's build that trust. And the trust doesn't come by assuming the role that you are the teacher of this class. That's not how trust is built. Trust is not built by just calling them every time the child does something wrong. That's not how trust is built. How many of us call the parents just for fun? I do, because every time I drive, I'm bored. My wife is busy. So I need to call parents and talk to them. And I call them and say, "Hi, sir, how are you?" And the first thing they ask, what happened? What did my son do wrong? Nothing. I'm just calling in to say that, this morning or this afternoon, I saw your son in the canteen doing very well. I hope everything is doing well. Okay, thank you, bye-bye. So the next time I call them to complain, they are not expecting bad news. But I will say, but this time I'm calling you because something happened. But they are not anxious anymore. I've managed the anxiety level with prior phone calls. Right? So that's how you build it. Just have fun doing it. All right? Let's move on. And the last one is academic emphasis. And this is the extent to which your school, as an institution, wants to emphasize the importance of academic excellence. I'm not saying discount it. I'm saying it's important to set the standards high. But it's also important to provide the right scaffold for kids to reach those standards. So this is the school that I wanted to just share with you about. We created a school not knowing what we were doing, quite honestly. We just wanted to focus on student happiness. We wanted to focus on student well-being. We wanted to make sure that every child is taken care of. We partnered with parents. We did all that we can. 4 years later, this is the time the whole country is looking at us. Why? Because the national results are coming out. These kids, the first batch of students set for their N-level exams, and the results are out, and we're all sitting in a meeting room, and my principal says, whatever the results, let's be happy, okay? And I love my boss. My boss was an amazing boss, right? And again, you see, the belief that I have in him, I work so hard for him also. So, the results came out. My kids who came in below national average at 12 years old, graduated 2 ranks above national average in Sec 4. And this is evidence. This is evidence that what we did worked. We kept them happy. We kept them in school. We kept them wanting to come to learn. We made learning fun. We invested in relationships. And thank God, everything went on fine and they did well. So this is why I'm so convinced that this model works. This is why I'm able to stand here and talk about this with conviction, because I truly believe. The next part is passion. H-O-P, passion. A lot of us, all of us in this room, when we signed up to be a teacher, can you remember that day? Mine is a bit closer lah. Some of us a bit longer. All right? The day you signed up to be a teacher, that fire in your eye, that passion in your belly, you just wanted to make a difference in this world, in your classroom, in your students. You all still have it not? You don't have already, lost already. It's the passion. I don't see that fire. Maybe it's a Sunday. Take it easy. All right? When you enter your classroom, right? Now, a passionate teacher is a teacher who breaks out of the isolation of the classroom, who refuses to submit to apathy or cynicism. Now, this is a teacher who's different. When you see this teacher, you know this teacher is different. This teacher is passionate. This teacher is here for a reason. This teacher is on a mission. We want to be that teacher. Imagine I have a whole room of you guys sitting here. If I had started a school today with just this group, right? Best school in Malaysia. Right? On a Sunday morning, you have invested your time to be here in this room. Later on, we just talk about this. Okay, let's start a school. Right? 3 major areas that we as impassioned teachers are. Passionate about your field of knowledge. Yesterday, I was so blessed to be part of Isabel's. Isabel, are you here? No, she's not here. I went to see Isabel's workshop. Oh, I could sense her passion. I sensed happiness. I was happy to be in a classroom. I sensed her optimism when she was teaching about chemistry. It was so fun. Escape room. I sensed her passion when she was speaking to us. Right? And I could sense her enthusiasm. Now that's an educator. I enjoyed that 30, 40 minutes I was there. I enjoyed myself so much. Right? And you could see. The minute I saw her, I went, this is not just an ordinary teacher. This is a passionate teacher. She is passionate about what she wants to do. She is passionate about that knowledge transference. Like the first one, her field of knowledge, chemistry. Some teachers are passionate about the issues facing the world. They want to make a difference. Some of us here, very big on sustainability, very big on climate change, very big on these things because you're very passionate about these things. And you realize you kind of tend to gravitate towards these topics in school. You tend to gravitate towards these committees in school. You find your place in such spaces because you're passionate about it. Follow your passion. I'm sorry, in Malaysian schools, right, you all have committee deployments. How many of you get to choose your committee, or how many of you are just thrown into a committee? Those of you who choose your committee, raise your hands, please. You're so sad. All get thrown into committees. Really, you don't get to choose which committee, or do you all have committee? Like, for example, you get to serve in sustainability committee or leadership committee. No? You just okay. That means you all are different level. You all get passionate even if you all thrown into it. Well done. You all should be very proud of yourselves, right? And the last one, which is all of us. I can bet every cent, which is not too much in my bank account, that all of us are passionate about children. If not, we won't be here. Right? And let's watch a video. Again, it's about this good-looking chap.
This is Mr. Kevin Francis. He's a game changer. He created Catch, a card game to teach values. Through play, Mr. Kevin Francis nurtures confidence, facilitates understanding, and empowers his students to make positive life choices. He shares his wisdom and time, helping his students be the best versions of themselves. Thank you, Mr. Kevin Francis, for showing your students that character is what really counts.
Good looking chap, isn't it? Oh, you guys. Thank you. So when this video went out on the national level, I got friends calling me. First thing they asked me, bro, you don't teach, I said, every other video we see someone is teaching in a classroom. Your video got no classroom at all. You teacher, you sure or not? But that's what I started and told you, right? Where is my passion? My passion is about values inculcation. Why? I believe very strongly in this, and I'm going to share this. I don't know what the future holds 10 years down. I don't know in this VUCA world, where the students we are teaching today, what questions, problems they're going to face tomorrow. I really don't know. And if you tell me, Kevin, are you preparing them for the world of tomorrow? I said, no, because I don't know. It's so volatile these days. But there's one thing I can be very sure on. If I ground them on a solid set of values, whatever decision they make in the future is going to be a good one. That's it. That's my philosophy. I don't know what the future holds, but if I can ground you on a solid set of values, then whatever the decision you make in your life will be a right one, because it's grounded on values. And that is the teaching philosophy of mine. That's why when you read articles about me, nothing about teaching in a classroom. When you see videos about me, there's nothing. It's all about this, because this is what I'm very passionate about. And here's the thing, right? Teachers with passion receive better results and are more likely to make a difference in their students' lives. I didn't talk about, research doesn't talk about making a difference in their academic grades. It's about making a difference in their lives. And passion, my dear friends, is contagious. That's the only thing you want to catch. Passion. You meet a passionate teacher, you leave that room, you feel fueled. You feel I got some feedback. Wow, the fuel. Do you hear that? It's a feedback. I think it's that passion of mine. All right, you feel fueled. You feel reignited. You feel like you want to go to a classroom right now and do something with your kids. Now, that's what a passionate teacher brings. And I want all of us, because we are in this room, to go back to whichever schools we are from, whichever institutions we are from, and bring that passion into your next meeting room, into your next classroom, because it is contagious. And you want to spread that. That's the only thing you want to spread. And lastly, you make teaching fun. And fun is not about being a clown. You know, my teachers always say this. Mr. Francis, the students listen to you because they are scared of you. I said, I don't think I've ever raised my voice or shouted at anyone before. Yeah, you're so big, everybody's scared of you. I said, I don't think that's how it works. And I'll never go into my class and clown around with my students. I never do that. But my teaching is fun. My classroom is fun. The learning is fun. So let's be very clear. A fun lesson is not a lesson that you clown around in. I've observed so many lessons in the past 15 years. And teachers go in there thinking they're entertainers. They're not. You're not. We're not. We're custodians of knowledge. And how we pass on that knowledge. We can do it via fun. All right? And let me take a page out of this book, The Habit of Passionate Teaching. And it says this: passionate teachers seek to understand students as people and learners. Passionate teachers intentionally build a classroom community based on the belief that the job of teachers is to engage with real people in the exploration of important ideas in a discipline, whether it's English, math, science, mother tongue. They do not merely dispense information and hope anonymous students are able to repeat it. Passionate teachers experience teaching as a relationship with individual students, and passionate teachers teach students, not subjects. Can I tell you another story? I'm not going to give you a Kit Kat now. You're not going to have a break. All right? Anyone needs a break, by the way? If you do, just please, take a break. Let me tell you a story about Kit Kat. So, how many of you have detention in your school? You know what detention is, right? It's a way to punish our students. No detention? Oh, seriously, no detention in such an amazing space. So how do you correct behaviors? You just suspend them, lah. Sorry? The DM. What is that? SS. Tell me more. So how do you punish them? No punishment. Yes. Sorry, we're a bit backdated here. I will learn from you. All right? And we'll talk about that later. I'm very curious to learn how you all do this. So let me tell you what we used to do in this school, right? So kids who are just, as much as I love my students, there are some of them who are really, really naughty. Right? They get into fights, they steal, they do a lot of things. Right? And we need to give them a consequence. Why? Because the consequence is a form of punishment aimed to correct the behavior. And one of the consequences we used to give is this thing called internal suspension, which means that the student will pull off a table and chair and sit outside the room of the head of departments. You all familiar with that? I'm very familiar with that because as a student, I used to sit like that very often. All right? So they used to sit, and it's actually aimed to embarrass you. Because everybody walk past you. But I will look good. I'll just look at that. Hey, I'm cool. And most of my kids do that, right? So when teachers walk past, guess what teachers do? There's this one tone of voice they all use. I think we all have mastered it. What are you here for? What happened? And the fellow will feel a bit bad. So what I started doing was, every time I walked past one of these kids, I used to hand them a Kit Kat. And then my discipline master at that time came to me and said, Kevin, what are you doing? Why are you encouraging this? I said, no. The punishment can remind them, the embarrassment can remind them not to do this, and the Kit Kat can also have the same effect. It is all about finding a stimulus to remind you of a negative behavior. So I used to have Kit Kat at my table, and every time my students get internally suspended, every time I walk past, I give them a Kit Kat. And I'll tell them that as you're eating this, reflect and think about what you did and don't do it again. And this one kid who graduated in 2019, on graduation day, came to me and gave me a Kit Kat. And said, thank you, Mr. Francis. From that day, I never did it again. But every time I saw a Kit Kat, I got reminded of my behavior, and I remembered not to do it again. So you see, what we choose as a form of punishment, as a form of reminder to stop a negative behavior is also very important. And it's our choice. Lastly, enthusiasm. H-O-P-E. We are E, everyone. Enthusiasm. Now, this is the effective experience of joy. It is the quality of effective teaching. And this is experienced by the teacher's enthusiasm. And I always tell my teachers this. How you walk into the classroom matters. Remember, it's as simple as that. How you walk into the classroom matters. if you walk in like that, you got 40 students looking at you. Do you think they want to learn from you or not? Are they excited? You yourself not excited to come in. How would you expect them? And then I'll tell my teachers, oh yeah, they're not excited to learn. I say, you're not excited to teach. How are they expected to learn? You are 4 times their age. Right? We always adopt the higher moral ground. We need to emulate. We need to bring forth that enthusiasm, that energy that you bring into a room is mirrored. Right? When you go into a classroom and you go in so happy, I know I go into a classroom and I immediately walk in bouncing. And no matter how bad my day was, and we all have bad days, my happiest moment of the day is always when I'm in the classroom. Right? Because that's the time that I get to be this child who wants to teach again. And I get to give this energy. Because that 1 hour that the child is with me is an hour I'm going to make a difference in their life. That's how powerful it is. And it's every day that we get to do it. So how we walk into the classroom, that first reaction, that joy of greeting. Do you know that every time I walk into the classroom, I greet my students, they sit down. You know what's the first thing they ask me? Mr. Francis, today got a story or not? Every time, every day. And I don't have a story also, I'll tell some story. Because they're so eager to listen to a story, they just want a story. And this is how I check for homework. Can I share with you a skill that I have to check for homework that plays on their emotions and make them feel really guilty? So I'll greet them, right? And I say, I've had such a wonderful day today. I'm so happy to be here. And I know all of you did your homework. So after I greet you, I'm going to face the whiteboard. And when I turn around, I know no one will be standing. So I face the whiteboard. And then when I turn around, all seated. Even the one never do homework also sitting. Because they don't want to disappoint me. Right? And after class, you say, actually, Mr. Francis, I never do my homework, but I sit down, because I don't want to make you feel sad. You're so happy. Right? It's so amazing, right? How these little things can just start the day off so well. So research does show that the more enthusiastic teachers were, the more engaged students became. So this is not a Kevin Francis line. This is research. So the energy you bring into the classroom does matter. So start bouncing. Start bringing that, upping the tempo of your lesson. You know, the students will hear it in your voices. And this is very important. Allow me to bring this to a landing by talking about what research has shown about great teachers. A great teacher, all of you here, seeks to serve a greater purpose than self and understands that passionate teaching does not complement their expertise as much as it completes their teaching. A great teacher brings out the full potential of his or her students and builds trusting and lasting relationships with them. All of you. A great teacher provides structure in the classroom, teaches with enthusiasm and passion, has a positive attitude, incorporates humor into lessons, makes learning fun, and uses students' interest to their advantage. And lastly, my favorite, a great teacher is a great storyteller. On that note, go on, tell your stories, because 10, 15, 20 years down the road, the students may not remember the lessons you taught, but they will remember the stories you told. Thank you, everyone.